So I want to talk some about modeling in 3D Studio Max, and we'll start with spline modeling because many of you have asked for this type of geometry, and I really like it. I think it's one of the best features in the program. And so I'll show a little bit of what how I use it mostly. So if we take a look here at the this model with the handle and the wire part of the handle and the wire part of the frame here, those were made with renderable splines. I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to pick the wire part of the handle here, and I'm going to isolate it. And you see, if we look over here in the stack, you see it's an editable poly, but it started as a line. And that's here. If we go to the Create tab and the Shapes and Line, and you can start to draw lines, and you see I have this setting here where it's a renderable spline, but most of the time under the creation type, under the rendering, I'm going to disable those so that they look more like this. And you right click to cancel, but let me undo those. And again, come back to this thing here in the stack, and I'm going to suppress the edit poly on there, and I'm going to go down to the line and expand it, or actually I don't even need to expand it, but come to expand the rendering, and I'm going to turn off enable in render and enable in viewport, and you can see what this thing, how it started. It's just a classic spline with some filleted corners on it. And the way it was created was to, again, here with the line tool, and I'll just kind of parallel what I was doing. Actually, I think I probably did this in a top view. So, and I tend to work in the orthographic views when I do this. But essentially, clicking, starting a line, holding down Shift to constrain it to vertical or horizontal in this case, clicking again, starting. And if your cursor starts to go off the screen, and this works for anything, not just spline tools, but most of the time I'm using spline tools when I do this. If I'm off the screen here, and if I try to middle click to scroll, I can pull it down, or if it's way off, I can press the I key, and that will center the screen to wherever the cursor is. So let me do that again and zoom in. And so here I can just keep going and set another corner there. Again, hold Shift to constrain it to horizontal. Click again, and let's move down, and then again hold Shift and set that, and then right click to cancel. Let me right click and hide that one as well. So now to work on this spline, I can come over here and go to modify, and I'm not going to talk a lot about how to use splines. You really need to look at the tutorials and the videos, the DVDs. Yeah, I could spend a whole semester just talking about how to work with splines in 3D Studio, but I'll show a little bit of some of the things that I do. So at this point, if I feel that my vertices are all in the right place, then I'll leave them as is. Otherwise, I might grab them and get the move tool and move things around, and you can move them individually. You can move them as groups, whatever you want to do. You can't scale or rotate them, but you can move them. And they can be moved out of plane, even. They do not have to be planar. And unlike, say, splines in a CAD modeler like SolidWorks, these can be very easily, they're always 3D splines. So let's see, and then you can change their type. So right now they're all linear corners, and so if you wanted a Bezier corner, you could select one, right click on it, and if you look over here in the top left of the quad menu, here's where you can change your corner type. So right now they're just corners. You could have Bezier corners, you could have just Bezier, or you could have smooth. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about these. Other than most of the time I'm using either corner. I use them all. So let's see a little of what they do. I'm going to select them all and right click and make them all smooth, and so you see it smooths everything out. But these are not Bezier handles. They're just, I have no control other than positioning on them. So let me undo all that. I can right click, make them Bezier, and so now I have corners. And again, you will need to I would highly recommend looking at videos and other tutorials about how to work with these. Or you could make them Bezier corners, where they stay the same until you manipulate. It's a broken Bezier handle. Oh, yeah, and that here, let me press X to get rid of the gizmo so I can grab the handle. Oh yeah, and because it's a corner, only moving that. Let's see, there we go. May actually have to do some moving around in both. There we go, to get it to work. You just need to select the corner there, and then you can start to move in that. Because if you've picked one of these others, it's only going to move in that direction. All right, so let me undo those. And then if you need to set them back, you can always just come in and change those around. Again, I'm not going to go through a lot with that. Now, the way I made the one for the wire, I wanted very specific radiusing on these, so I think I just selected all three of the ones where I wanted the radius, and then came down to here where you can fill it or chamfer them. You can interactively do it. You can press the button and then come in and do that. There's a chamfering or a filleting. Yeah, so if you just want to visually do it, that's fine. Or you can dial in a particular number for this, so 0.25 maybe, and do that, and that'll drop them in, that'll change it to that. Let me undo that. Let's see, make sure those are still selected. Or you can use the spinner over here, click and hold, although at this small a scale, that tends to run up pretty quickly. So most of the time I'm either going to do the interactive or the type in. So let's put in something like 0.5 on that. Oops, sorry, I picked the fillet. Or I picked the chamfer, not the fillet. There we go. And you see it resets itself, so be aware of that. And then to make this renderable, it's a matter of let's get out of vertex mode, and it's, you have two choices here. You can enable in viewport, which is the way I typically work, and then enable and render. If you're going to just leave it as a renderable spline and you want it to render in the viewport, you want it to be able to render when you do the rendering, then make sure that's checked. If you just want to use it as geometry and then manipulate it later, you don't need to enable the renderer, because you're going to make it renderable by whatever you do next with whatever modifier you're going to use on it. Or if it's at the polygon level, if it's another modifier like a twist or a bend or something like that, then you'll need to check both. But in this case, I'm going to just be safe and check them both, and then now I can come in and decide what thickness I want. In this case, yes, indeed, I did want that 0.25 thickness, but you can alter that if you want. I'm just going to run it up a little bit. But you see there in the corners where the bends are a little too tight for that, so I'm going to right click and just let that drop away. And I didn't really need very many sides on this. An 8-sided renders pretty well, especially at a distance. But if you need more detail, here you can up the number of sides if you need to get a little bit finer. Again, though, you're adding to your geometry. So let me undo that. And then the angle, this will come into play more in when we start using a rectangular cross section than in this. But maybe I'll do, yeah, because it doesn't really do much for the circular radial cross sections. Actually, while I'm down here on the end of this thing, do note that a lot of times it puts this kind of geometry on one end, where you have these kinds of caps. Most of the time I'm going to put a edit poly modifier on the top of this and come in and get rid of that, or do more with this. So that's not a big deal. And at this level, it's not if I'm just going to leave it like this, then it's not a big deal anyway. It's just you're not even going to see it if I go out of wireframe edge faces, then you're not even going to see it. And then to work with this, you can again add an edit poly modifier. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about rectangular. You can also set this to rectangular, and you can kind of see what's happening there. Its length is a little bit big there, and let's try a little bit smaller there, so I can get rectangular cross sections with this. So I can either change the width or in fact, yeah, let me dial that down some, so I'm getting a kind of a strap looking piece. And here is where the angle will come into play. So if I click and hold or click and drag on the spinner there, you can see this thing kind of tilting in and out. This is especially good for making something, say you wanted to make a banked racetrack. Very easy to do with that. This is all animatable, so you can get some really interesting features out of it. So let me just go back to radial here. And then most of the time it's a matter of, and I'll come back here, why don't I just get rid of this one and unhide the wire one and turn everything back on it. Where did it go? Oh, didn't have the, yeah, I need to turn on those. Yeah, be sure to do that when you're using these, because you have to have it enabled in viewport for it to actually have geometry that then the edit poly can work on. And you'll note that if I come in here, you can see that if I suppress this, you'll probably see that one of these probably, yeah, there it is. Actually, I don't even think I even deleted it. But what I did do with it, I think, was, and the reason I put the edit poly modifier on it was so that I could come in and smooth this a little better. So I think I just did that, and then Control A and auto smoothed it so that, yeah, it had better. Or if I didn't, I should have, so that it had better smoothing across it. And then now I can, at the edit poly level, now I can work on it at the vertex or poly, etc. level. Again, understand that you can do a lot with it. In fact, let me open up another file, and or I'm about to run out of time, so I'll pick that up in the next video, because it'll be a little more pertinent to what I want to show.